social work. This is the second phase of our candidates. Can we please mute our mics? Today we shall be presenting two candidates who will be discussing their seminar paper with us and to be addressed by two discussants. We'll be having Uzenwa Naemeka Magnus and Abdul Peter Temitope. And we have the discussants as Dr. Loretta Onyekwere and Dr. Iyeme FM. I think they are already here with us. I want to also welcome our facilitators who are also on this call. Let me take this opportunity to welcome Professor John Emaimo, Dr. Kemi Otun, Professor Onikmede, social worker Ferdinand Omoja, who is our rapporteur and coordinator of this presentation. He will ensure that all discussions are recorded and feedback given to our candidates. So please, I want each and everyone to please mute their mics so that we will not have so much interference. We also welcome social worker to our midst. Shadrach, please mute your mic. Okay, thank you. So without much ado, we would like Professor John Emaimo to please open the floor for us by just a brief word of advice, followed by Dr. Kemi Otun, before we listen to the candidates whom we are here because of. So please, Professor John Emaimo, can you please have the floor?
Thank you very much, the coordinator, distinguished colleagues on the in the house. I want to first and foremost appreciate you for this wonderful work. And as we all know that this is both academic and professional exercise, and then it's not also a business as usual. It is an opportunity for us to listen to what our candidates have done and what they also intend to do and sharpen the edge to be sure that whatsoever comes out of this exercise becomes fine. And in the course of doing this, we need to interact, we need to listen to you, we need to strengthen your work, because we know too well that every work that passes through this process becomes a permanent document. And we want to have documents that can stand a test of time and document that at any point in time, we draw it up, people and other colleagues too will be able to learn from it, and as well as see the reason why people like us were also taking some time to sit and do this. So in the course of doing the work, correction will comes in, cross-fertilization of ideas will also come in. I urge the candidates to open their mind and then work along with the instructions and the dictates of the presentations and the reviewer as well. Reviewers also, I need to thank you before you start, because I know you have committed your time to this, and I want to also be sure that you will not be disappointed at the end of the day, because having spent a lot of your time to come and do this and then you are not seeing anything reasonable or fruitful coming out of it is something that can be quite not encouraging. So I want to assure you, in much I'm not trying to be boastful, the student knows to some extent a little what you should do, and will encourage the reviewer and others to key in and work with them. We are looking for works that could stand a test of time. We're also looking for works we can be proud of. We're also looking for the work that can be better than what we did during our own time. Thank you very much, the coordinator, for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, sir, for that word of encouragement and a charge to us all. Can we have Dr. Kemi Atun, the registrar of the Institute?
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say thank you for the organization. So please go ahead. God bless everyone.
Thank you very much, Ma, for giving us a nod to go ahead. We appreciate. Let me now call on social worker Ferdinand Omoja to take it up from here. Social worker Ferdinand, you have the floor, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Atere. Thank you, my very senior colleagues and colleagues. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this presentation. Basically, what we have today is a field report from two candidates. The first candidate is Nzenwa Nemeka Magnus. Nzenwa, are you here?
Yes, sir, I'm here, sir.
Okay, yes, Nzenwa Magnus. The supervisor is Professor Oluwa Yemisi Obachoro John, and the discussant today is Dr. Loretta Onyekwere. And he will be giving us a field report on examining the psychosocial challenges of grandparents in the post-COVID pandemic era in Ile-Ife, Osun State, Nigeria. Nzenwa Nemeka Magnus, you have the floor to give us your field report. Thank you.
Is my screen visible? Can you see my screen, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we
very
can see
clear.
your screen. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Imagine a world where the story is okay. Imagine a world where
Magnus, if you can hear me, your voice is a bit shaky. I don't know if you can only having this problem. Magnus.
Heard and felt. Where their struggles, resilience, and
I think Nzenwa Magnus has been knocked off by network. So why not we'll give like 2 minutes to see if we can reestablish. If not, I hope Dr. Adeyanju Temitope Peter is around. Magnus, can you hear me?
Hello? I can hear you clearly, sir. Can you hear? I can hear you, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now. We didn't get what you were saying.
Okay, I said, imagine a world where the stories of our older adults are heard and felt, where their struggles, resilience, and wisdom are woven into the very fabric of how we understand aging. This presentation isn't just about aging. It's about reclaiming the voices of our older adults, one story at a time. All protocols duly observed. My name is Nzenwa Magnus Nemeka. Title of my study is Examining the Psychosocial Challenges of Older Adults in Post-COVID Era in Ile-Ife. It's a global knowledge that post-COVID-19 significantly affected older adults in different ways. And these challenges exacerbated the problems of older adults, which includes the mental health challenge, the social challenge, and systemic inequalities. Particularly in Ile-Ife, older adults face isolation, disrupted grief rituals, and mental health challenges. The problem statement. Despite the vulnerability of older adults, as stated, there's limited research on how older adults in Nigeria coped in post-pandemic, particularly in Ile-Ife. The purpose of this study is to explore the psychosocial experience of older adults in Ile-Ife following the pandemic. Research objectives. Number one, to investigate the specific psychosocial challenges experienced by older adults in Ile-Ife during the post-COVID period. Two, to analyze the socio-cultural factors that have influenced the psychosocial well-being of older adults in the study area. Three, to assess the coping mechanisms and adaptive strategies employed by older adults and their caregivers in managing post-pandemic psychosocial stressors within Ile-Ife community. Four, to develop culturally appropriate intervention recommendations for improving psychosocial support systems for older adult populations in post-pandemic. This study is centered on three major theories, of which ecological system theory is the major theory, which is complemented by stress process model and social convoy model. The respective citations are stated. Ecological system theory helps the study to provides a multi-level lens to examine psychosocial challenges at individual, relational, community, and societal levels. Stress process model. This theory helps us to identify how pandemic stressors translate into psychological distress through mediating factors like isolation, loss, and economic hardship. Excuse me. Social convoy model. This conceptualizes social relationships as dynamic protective layers that move with individuals through life, offering insight into how pandemic disruptions affected support networks. Methodology. This study will be the research design will be case study, and approach will be qualitative, of which will involve in-depth interviews, key informant interviews, and case studies. The participants are made up of 30 persons, of which 24 are older adults, 12 older women, and 12 older men, and 6 key informants, which comprise of community leaders, health and healthcare providers. Sampling. The sampling will adopt a multi-stage purposive sampling across urban, semi-urban, and rural areas. Sample design and selection. The samples are okay. This selection criteria will involve older adults of 60 years and above who have experienced pandemic-related challenges and are equally willing to share their stories. Sampling method. This will adopt a purposive approach. The rationale behind this is to ensure a rich data which is contextually relevant while maintaining feasibility. Data collection. In-depth interviews. The in-depth interviews will be conducted in Yoruba to ensure authenticity. And the case studies will highlight individual coping strategies. Key informant interviews. This will provide systemic insights. This will provide systemic insights from community leaders and service providers. Data analysis. This study will adopt one particular software, but the reason why I indicated to NVivo and Atlasia here is because it depends at the time where I'll be doing the analysis, it depends on the one I'll be able to secure its subscriptions, because the software for qualitative analysis are all subscription based. Coding strategy. This will be inductive coding based on participants' narrative. You see, the responses of the participants will be systematically grouped and sorted to identify emerging patterns and salient themes. Ethical considerations. Informed consent. This will be provided both in English and Yoruba to ensure balance. The confidentiality of the data will be ensured. Data will be anonymized, stored, and stored securely. Voluntary participation. Participants will be reminded of their right to withdraw at any point during the interview. Psychosocial support. In one way or the other, during the interview, if any participant feels that any of the questions are traumatic, so we will have to provide psychological support through referral. Conclusion and next step. This study will provide critical insight into resilience and vulnerabilities of our older adults in post-pandemic in Ile-Ife. The findings will be used to develop culturally grounded interventions, inform policy and training programs, and strengthen community-based support systems. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you, sir.
Bishop Ferdinand, I hope you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Magnus. Let's go to the discussant, Dr. Loretta Onyekwere. Dr. Loretta Onyekwere.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, distinguished colleagues. I believe we all had good Sunday activities. Wednesday, I must commend you for mastering of your work when social work Ferdinand tried to introduce what we have today. He said we are to have field reports, and then I was wondering what I was sent to look at, whether it was actually a field report or a pre-field report. So I said, okay, once they will present, I will listen and know whether it's a finished work or not. So I discovered that from his presentation and the write-up, I sent to me, it's actually a pre-field report, meaning he hasn't gone to the field. And his presentation sounded that way also. So I must commend you once that you showed mastering of what you have put up together for us to listen to and make our own observations. So coming to the topic, examining the psychosocial challenges of older adults in the post-COVID era in Ile-Ife, Osun State, Nigeria. It's actually worth studying. It's okay. But I was looking at where probably you might need to add maybe social work intervention to make it more catching, showing that this work is, tilted to a specific discipline, from the catching of the topic. If you should bring in social work intervention, if you should look at the social work interventions and the psychosocial well-being of older adults in post-pandemic Ile-Ife, Osun State, meaning that you've actually indicated that a specific discipline is handling this topic. Then one thing I noticed that was general is in your work is the use of American English. I guess in Nigeria, we use the British English. So you might need to go through your work again and begin to make that correction, except the institute wants to, go with American English. But if we are using the British English, you might need to go through the work and then begin to make those corrections. I believe you understand what I'm trying to say. Situation where you have behavior, organization, you will need to use S in place of Z. If it is a behavior, you need to put U and all that. Though it's not a major observation, but I think it's worth letting you know that you should look at. Probably clear with the institute if we are using British or American English. Then under statements of your work has it as statement of problem. Please add the D there. It is statement of the problem. And then in your objective, say the broad objective of the study was to examine the psychosocial challenges. And then you say the specific objectives of this study are two. So having used that to there, you do not need to put the other twos again. Like you say, one, to investigate. You already have the general two that will cover your four objectives. So remove the to investigate, to analyze, to assess, to develop. In your literature review, I discovered, sorry to jump to literature review, but since I'm on your objective, let me just make this observation. I looked at your literature review looking for a subheading that will carry post-pandemic psychosocial stressors. Reviewing on that, which could either be empirical or conceptual, is not there. So I think I will advise you add that as a subheading and either use a conceptual review or empirical review. Your objectives are in line, what you're discussing. Then I now come to your 1.5 limitation of the study. I actually expected you to state the likely challenges or hindrances that you may encounter while carrying out the field work and how you will handle them to enable you succeed in collecting your data in the course of your study. What you stated here was the general limitations that somebody will look at your work and begin to critique your work and say, look, the sample size you use is not enough. And so I want to do this work you have done by increasing the sample size and all that. For instance, you stated they said the first significant limitation concerns the study sample size and selection methodology. It means you're already condemning what you have done. You should not even mention that. It is expected that some other person who would want to do the same thing you have done might decide to say that is the gap he or she has found in your work, and the gap is where you have sample size that will not be enough for generalization of your result or the methodology you have selected. But you can't be stating it. You are the owner of the work, so I don't see why you should state it that is your limitation. And then you also said the use of purposive and snowballing sampling techniques will, while appropriate for qualitative research, may inadvertently exclude certain subgroups. If you know it will be that, why choose it? So you have chosen it, and you explain in your presentation why you have chosen it, and you went ahead to work, you go ahead to work with it. So what I'm trying to say in essence is these are general limitations you will see in most works, which some other person will look at, and that's okay. I'm trying to redo the work this person has done based on these limitations I found. So, and writing your limitation of study should be when you have finished the work and then you are not saying the challenges you encountered. And when I saw it here, I went down and I saw where you had 3.6 and you did not write anything under that as problems encountered. So there you means you know what you're doing. So this 1.5 shouldn't be there until you have finished your work, just as you cashed it in 3.6. Your justification of the work, very okay. And then I must commend you because you actually did a good work. Your literature review, you centered so much on the different types of pandemics. Well, probably when you'll be analyzing your findings, you might begin to relate it to all this that you have put down, which probably when you be discussing giving us your field report, we'll see how that relates to what you spent so much time writing on, because you wrote the Pledge of Galilean, and so many of them are there. So keep them and then see where it also relates to your work, maybe at the end of your study. At the end of your field work. Coming to your methodology, very, very explicit, very clear, the way you want to go about it. And I pray that you do it the way you have written, making sure that confidentiality is maintained, making sure that ethical consideration is obtained and all that. There's not so much to talk about your work because it's very clear and well articulated, even in your presentation. Then your referencing, you actually did well in your referencing. But I now discovered that, still on that research methodology, I believe that in research methodology, the number one thing we talk about is research design. I'm surprised your own is starting with population of the study. Then we have, we say sample design. I don't know what you mean by sample design. Is it called sample design or research design? If you go to your 3.2, it's referred to as research design and not sample design. Then this your work, you said that the design cannot be, I said that the design cannot be a case study because it involves more than one participant. In your sample design, you said it's a case study research design. It shouldn't be a case study research design. We are not handling an individual. We're looking at families from a particular community or areas, because we talked about the different communities in Ile-Ife. So that knocks off the idea of making it a case study research. I hope you're getting me, Wanze. Then your sample
Clearly, ma.
Okay. Your sample size should come before sampling technique. You get a sample size before you talk of the technique that you're using, for the sampling. So 3.4 should come up before the sampling technique. the research protocol, if you check your 3.6, where I said 3.6, you said problem encountered. You notice that you did not write anything there because you know you have not actually gone to the field to ascertain, any problem, but then you left it open, which is correct. So I wonder why you know that, and then you come up to write limitation and started writing limitations of general limitations when one is using qualitative method. Then if you check your grammar there under 3.7, it said the research protocol incorporated multiple safeguard. Yeah, I believe you wanted to say that the research protocol will incorporate. So try to go through, because some places, not only that, there are other places where you are actually supposed to use the terms that shows that it's a proposal. And then some places you use terms that show that you had finished the work. So you go through the work again so that you make the corrections. Referencing. Your references are in order, but you just missed up some things which you know how to do. You indicated I use APA 7th edition. Fine. But if you check your 1, 2, 3, the third, fourth names there, you did not complete. Did not give us complete information. So I indicated that you have an incomplete reference in there. You won't just put the name, the year, the title, you said the gerontologist, and then you're having page number, you're having page number and the volume of the journal, no journal name and all that. So try and correct it. Then the fourth one, you had African Journal of Medicine, no title of the, that is the title of the journal, but the topic itself not there. There are just few anyway. There are not many. I believe it will be very easy for you to correct. It's also good that you know that if it's a book, you utilize the title of the book. And if it is a journal article, you utilize the journal name, which you did in some of your reference, and some you did not do. So I don't know why. So it means that you have to look at it again and make the correction. So far, so good. Your presentation to me, I'm okay with it. Because when I went through your work, I said, I hope once they will be able to say what he has put down that looks so well. And you proved actually that you did the work yourself. So good luck to you. I pray that you do exactly what you have put down as a proposal for us to look at. Thank you very much. Over to you, social worker Ferdinand.
Thank you very much, Dr. Loretta Onyekwere, for that insightful and exhaustive review of the work of Nzemma Nemeka Magnus. A note of apology, it was my mistake. What I have in the schedule is pre-filled, not a post-filled. So both your observation and presentation of Magnus is in order. So thank you very much, ma'am, for that wonderful review.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Do we have any reaction from our resource person? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so that we'll make progress. Professor John Emaimo and Dr. E.M. FM and Professor Onikbede. So let's start with Professor John Emaimo.
Thank you so much. Let me appreciate the presenter, Magnus, for a job well done. And, and also an excellent review from Dr. Onyekwere. In fact, she has taken most of my areas of concern. I just needed to ask if the presenter actually will be able to give a solid illumination, or maybe trying to make the research work reflect effectively that the respondents he has chosen and are actually established as those who were affected in the case he is talking about. So there should be a way of making sure that the writing depicts that and shows that clearly that those chosen as respondent for this research were actually affected. And also, I listened to him talk about his theoretical aspect of it. I did not see justification. I didn't hear justifications how those theories will help this work, and what makes those theories quite been very relevant, or make the theories a choice for discussion of this work. I think outside this, I would say that it needs to be consistent, which Dr. Onyekwere has also said, in the grammar, to understand the difference between proposal and the report of the work done already. This will cast clarity to his work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor John Emaimo. Can we have Dr.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you very much. I don't have much to add, but just to the aspect of the language, like the discussant had noted, and to see how we can advise the students to understand what to do so that they can have a consistency and coherence in their language as they speak. Yes, Nigeria is British, and computers, unfortunately, are US-based. And so if you get into your Word, if you buy a computer or phone and you load Word in it, Word is developed by a US-based, what's his name again? My name just got it. Yes, Microsoft, developed by Microsoft. So what you do is go to the settings and then choose language. And there you can change and say English, British. And once you do that, automatically your documentation and everything you write would be in British English. But if you don't, by default, it automatically chooses English US, because that's the language of the manufacturer and the developer of the program. So this will make it easy for you so that you don't have to juggle between the two. You speak British English, but then your computer tells you it is wrong, and you choose it, you go and correct it based on the computer, and it end up being wrong in the country that you're operating in. Thank you. That's just my suggestion. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Iyeme FM. And we have Professor Onikwede.
Good evening, everyone.
You're welcome.
Okay, let me start by appreciating Magnus for a job well done. You tried. However, I also want to take us back to the introductory remark by Professor John Emaimo, that we only have or to do something that's and test of time. Am I communicating?
It's like your voice is cracking, Prof.
Okay, let me use my earpiece. Maybe that will be better. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's clearer now.
Oh, all right. So, going back to that, let me say that this work, Magnus by the name, Nzenwa by the name, is from Eastern Nigeria, Igbo. and it's using in-depth interview. There is what we call crossing language boundaries. So I would like him to maybe look for people that will interpret for him to actually get, to be able to actually decode the Yoruba language. No matter how long you have stayed in Yoruba land, there are some languages you may not really understand. And I didn't see that in his work. So there is need for him to look for people that will do interpretation. For example, I'm also a Yoruba person, but that's what they call Ayegbe in Yoruba land. That's the language that, for now, you are looking at 65, 60, 60 above. So they may be using those languages like that. And if a language is deep, very, very deep, which I know, so you need that to add. We are just looking at how to make the work very rich. And this is important for cultural sensitivity and for people that will look at your work tomorrow so that they don't misinterpret what you are saying. Ordinarily, I would have said, if you have an interpreter, you can also interpret in Igbo language and then transfer to English language. And that will be better for us. I know in this very area of something problem issues, there are several works across Nigeria, post-COVID, during the COVID. There was one that is very even related to your work done in Indonesia. So you can look at those works and look at how they actually address, like the one in Indonesia was done by groups from different regions. So you look at the way they handle it, then before you go to the field, I think it will make your work come out better. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Onikwede. Dr. Atere, want to say something?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Social Worker Ferdinand. And thank you, Social Worker Magnus, for the job well done. We could see an improvement from your other presentations. This is more stable, I must confess. And from what Dr. Ikere has also discussed, which we are saying that it's a consistent work and a progressive work compared to what had been done in the past. I just want to confirm your population of study. I heard 30 older persons. In Ile-Ife or in Osun State, I believe is an indigenous community and a community where you will have older people. And to use 30 as a population of study, I am thinking it may be inadequate. For example, if you even look at the population census to look at that age bracket in Osun State, you may discover that you have them in their thousands. If you are looking at it from local government to local government in Osun State, you will see the number that you have. But at this level, this is a doctoral work. So now use 30. I feel it should be inadequate. The first thing I feel you should do is let's get the population census that delineates the population of older persons in Osun State. And then look at the number that is adequate for this study. But for 30, it may not bring out the quality of your work. So if you are able to do something about that, I believe you and your supervisor will look at it and work it out and get sizable number, a reliable number that could bring out or reflect the kind of work you are trying to do. I saw that you have even deleted it to grandparents. You are looking at older persons who are grandparents. So look at that direction and beef your work. And let's have a population that will be standard for you to sample. Thank you. Over to you, Shaka. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Atere. I'm seeing the reviewer, Dr. Loreto Onyekoro, raising hand. You needed to give us some more insight. Dr.
Okay.
Loreto Onyekoro, you are raising your hand.
Me on mute. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Yes, I noticed that, but then he said that he will be looking at the older persons that have suffered or are suffering from post-pandemic psychosocial problems, stressors or something like that. And that is why I said there is need for him to have that as a subheading under his literature review. So and it's a qualitative study. In qualitative study, the number is always small, very small, smaller than in quantitative study. And now he said he's going to use purposive, just like what Professor Emaimo asked. Will you be able to get these people that had the challenge? So if he succeeds in getting them, I think that 30 will be okay. Because we have older persons that wouldn't have suffered that psychosocial, issues that had to do with post-COVID issues. So I didn't see that as an issue because he stated clearly that it was going to be a purposive sampling work, looking out for those people, meaning that there are people who have suffered from it or are suffering from it, and that he will want to identify them and interview them. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, Dr. Tere.
Yes, please.
If we should get the population of very old people, his work is not a quantitative study, it's a qualitative study and looking at people that are in that situation. So 30 for me, I think can fly, but just what Professor Mama said, he will not be able to get those people. Are they there? Or is he just going to forge something and come up and say, yes, he was able to see them? And then the observation our colleague also made that he is from Igbo and is going to work in Yoruba land. Is he going to have research assistants, people that will help him to speak the Yoruba and get these people that are in that situation? If he's able to do that, fine, because in his work, he even indicated that he's going to use interpreters and law work to see that proper communication is being achieved between the researcher and the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Onyekoro, for that intervention. I think it's clear, and plus other things that will be involved, both transcription and the rest. I think justice has been done to Nzemwa Nemeka Magnus' work, and Magnus, people are testifying about your work that you have done a great work. So we believe you are going to continue with the same tempo, and come out with something that will stand the test of time. Do you have any reaction, Magnus?
Not at all, sir.
It's okay.
All points noted, sir.
It's all right. Okay, I'm also taking my notes so that once you get mine, you compare with the ones you are already taking, plus the recorded of this particular presentation. Let's make some progress. Ade and Jupiter, tell me, are you here? I've tried to look for you before. I did not see you. Ade and Jupiter, tell me, if you are here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm available, sir.
Good to see you on this side. So, Ade and Jupiter, tell me, doing the post-field reports. And the supervisor, okay, we are still having the same supervisor, Professor Oluwayemisi Obasoro John. And the discussant is Dr. Iyeme FM. And the topic is assessment of gender-based violence, social work intervention, and academic performance of secondary schools students in Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Adeyanju, can you give us your report?
Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate. I want to first acknowledge and greet all our professors here and all our senior colleagues. Again, my name is Adeyanju Temitope Peter, presenting on the assessment of gender-based violence, social work interventions, and academic performance of senior secondary school students in the Federal Capital Territory. Number one, if we look at the topic, there are variables, 3 variables there: gender-based violence, social work intervention, and academic performance, specifically as it relates to senior secondary school students. The word gender is actually a social construct. It is not synonymous to biology. Gender is just what the society or the roles that the culture assigns to the different sexes. So that defines gender. So by inference, man and woman are the specifics that are covered in the context of biology. So the boys, the girls, the man, the woman are often violated. And in secondary schools, there are prevalence of these violations, and it comes in different colorations, in different forms. And again, for social work,
This presenter should mute his video, please. Mute your video. Your video. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I wanted to ask, are you on transit?
You said?
Hello.
Hello?
Temitope, are you on transit? Are you on transit?
I'm okay, sir. No, I'm okay. I'm okay.
No, I could see you are in a car. Is it a moving vehicle, or you're just using your car as your office for now?
No, I'm okay. It isn't a moving vehicle.
I think he parked somewhere to do this, so that's fine. Yes.
I actually shared with Mr. Dr.
It's okay.
that yes, okay. Thank you. So again, we're looking at the fact that gender-based violence has the potential to reduce the academic output and outcomes and performance and achievement of secondary school students. And from literature, it actually often results into decline when it comes to graduating from one class to another, beyond enrollment, at retention. And it's usually very peculiar with the girl child, when you have the issue of early girl child marriage and all of that. So again, gender-based violence, number one, it has become endemic here in Nigeria, and it's becoming prevalent, and that it's affecting the academic performance of students. So again, these are being perpetrated in schools, and it comes in different forms. It comes in form of beating, rape, humiliation, verbal abuse, and then you have sexual harassment. And the consequence, like I did say, often results into decline in the academic performance of students. It brings about dehumanization. You find issues like depression, isolation of these students, suicide to a large extent, murder cases, sexually transmitted diseases, and physical injuries are most of the accompanying cases. Now, again, it then calls for the fact that the field of social work is actually a child of necessity. It goes beyond what the medics will do. It goes beyond what the educationist can do. It provides a more holistic approach in addressing the needs of these students. So the social work intervention, with reference to the work of the Social Work Association of America in 2023, actually specified the fact that social workers are trained to provide mental needs, mental support, psychosocial support, behavioral support, and all of this enhances the recovery processes of some of these survivors of victims of gender-based violence. So social work intervention in schools is inevitable. It's very needful. It provides the needed psychosocial assessment and intervention for students, including the family. And then by extension, it comes in form of counseling too, so that they can develop adaptive behaviors required. And then it also provides recreational therapies. And all of these are what we need today, or else the values of the society will continue to degenerate. The GBV, based on literature, has increased from 11% in 2019. It increased to 20.9 in the federal capital in 2022, and the value keeps increasing. From in 2021, it was 14.3. In 2022, it was 20.9%. The GBV, that's the gender-based violence, again, comes with so many complications. There's unwanted pregnancy, sexually transmitted infections like HIV and AIDS. There was pelvic injury, urinary tract infections, fistula-related cases, genital injuries, pregnancy complications because of the disproportion of the pelvic region in relation to the size of the fetus cranial composition anatomically. So apart from the mental effect on these survivors, like I initially mentioned, is anxiety. Some of them have even resulted into substance abuse, and self-harm and the likes. Now, the research questions are actually is to look at what causes this gender-based violence among these secondary school students, its effect, that's number 2, on these secondary school students, and the various psychosocial interventions that usually are provided in the FCT, and then what are the possible strategies that can be adopted, number 4, to address the problems of this gender-based violence and in order to improve the academic performance of senior secondary school. And that actually was used to define the objectives. And then there are also 4 objectives relating to each of the research questions. The scope of the work is to actually cover public sector study work to students. It will be of benefits to secondary school teachers, to parents, and the social workers themselves. To students, it will serve as a form of education. So they now understand what gender-based violence is. It goes beyond the IPV, the intimate partner violence. They need to really be sensitive to the form it exists and then to also be taught how to go out of it. To the school teachers, of course, there are incidences where the school teachers also are part of the perpetrators of this actual act, this event. And then to the parents, they need to understand some of these things that can degenerate or really protect their children better. And the social work, to the social workers, they need to understand the fact that they are like a needed and essential part or institution or organ or a unit that will help address and help restore value and standard to the society. The study adopts the liberal feminist theory, and the proponent is Julia Christopher, Judith Butler, Albert Bandura, Henry DeGeneres, Maud Manoni in the year 2030. It was edited also by Ellen Lewis in 2021. These beyond the original radical feminists, these are of the position that there is the need for continuous exploitation beyond gender issues to address the needs of balance. So it is liberal because it gives cognizance and recognition to both men and women, unlike the radical feminists who almost will advocate for the eradication of the male. We also use the family structure and extending power control theory. This theory is deeply associated with the concept of the home. The home, we understand, is the basic unit of the society and is a true reflection of what the society looks like. So whatever you see happens in the society, it's a reflection of what is taking place in the family. So under the girl child and the women and the male, in a male-dominated environment should be taught beyond being submissive to also protect the girl child. So the family is just a place where rituals and customs are performed according to the theorist, and defined boundaries are being enhanced. And then women are also learning some of these cultural rules, gender rules. Now, beyond this, the essence of adopting this theory is actually to provide also the fact that the family cannot be extricated or removed from the society. Of course, we understand as social workers, we understand that the society could be, defined in the context of micro, meso, and the macro. Micro because it is the nucleus. And then the study also adopts the gender role theory. Now, if you look at the gender role theory, it actually talks about the roles assigned to the boys and the girls, the men and the women. And then beyond this, if you look at these three theories, the most appropriate that the study is using is the gender role theory, because the initial theory, the liberal feminist theory, did not address the nucleus of the family in specific, but it actually addressed the need to protect the girl child as well as the women, the boy and the girl, from a global perspective or from a macro perspective. Then the family structure and the extended power control theory also try to give more credence to some of these cultural inherent futures that makes women to further be subjugated. It's not intending to liberate the women, though it addresses the fact that you cannot also exclude the fact that the boy is same as important as the boy is to you. That's the same importance you should attach to the girl child. But it did not actually advance the need why the girl child should be more protected and then further protected against from the prevalence of this gender-based violence. Like I repeat, the boy child are also suffering this problem as the girl child, but it is more peculiar, it's more prominent, more prevalent among the girl child. Now, again, from the research methodology, the research design actually adopted is a survey research design. The population, again, is 75,561. The sample size for the study, the sample size is actually, this is 345. And then the instrument used is actually a questionnaire, a structured questionnaire. The validity is that the supervisor read through. So it was a content validity and criterion reference validity, and the test-retest liability was used. And the 0.9, which is 89% index value, was gotten using Pearson moment correlation coefficient. The method of data collection, the researcher actually was on the field to administer the questionnaire and wait to get back the questions. The method of data analysis, the SPSS is used, version 21. From the field, these are the following causes of gender-based violence. One, degenerative values. So the societal values daily is degenerating. We're beginning to borrow Western cultures. Two, there is prevalence or increase in gender inequality. So there is more preference for the male child and lesser concern for the girl child. And that also is sequential to discrimination. Poverty and illiteracy tend to also advance some of this. So these are the causes. Conflict, where there are prevalence of communal clashes, insecurity. So the primary people that are usually affected are women and children. And then there is increased IDP camps, stress in the homes, defective religious values, and the issue of patriarchy, male dominance. And its effect, again, includes from the field, we have suicidal attempts. More children are beginning to commit suicide. So the rate of attempts of suicide is increasing. Lack of interest in subject areas in schools, depression, isolation, and self-harm, decline in enrollment. Of course, it's a very major issue. The number of girl child now being enrolled in schools, if you look at from the dossier, is declining, is reducing. And the retention rate also is declining. And then if you look at the progression rate, completion rate, it's not the same number of girl child. If you look at the proportion, you realize a very high number of the girl child usually don't get to the completion level, and there is increased social vices. And then from the field study again, these are the social work intervention provided in schools. Number one, health education, counseling, adaptive behavioral assessment. There is also open communication channels between the students' families and the school. Then there is they develop referral pathways. So they were able to identify different referral, or what I refer to as different stakeholders responsible to manage GBV. So you have the police station, you have the hospitals or the clinics, and then you also have, even it was identified that even these local vigilantes and the houses of the local traditional people were also used as one of the referral points, as a measure of reporting. And then we have the psychosocial support. Then what strategies was actually adopted to reduce GBV and then to enhance the academic performance of students? Number one is the rehabilitation programs for the survivors, the victims. Number two is the campaign to raise awareness within the system in the FCT. Then there is also promoting women empowerment. It was observed that if you empower the women, it's a known fact that you will have had more value to the girl child. And then education, all right, against non-violence, and then eradication of gender stereotypes. So we're beginning to stereotype too many things, and it's actually affecting the mentality of the girl child and the boy child too. Believe and support system for the survivors, then non-harmful alternatives to harmful traditions are also suggested. You observe that most often some of these practices within the cultural, like e.g., the female genital mutilation, it will amaze us to know that it's still in vogue, it's still there. And then we have the need to engage the men and the boy child to discuss this issue, so that, because it will help solve the problems more, rather than extricating them when they are discussing them. So in summary, the academic performance of students should be considered a continuous process until there is evidence of improvement in the interest and performance of these learners, both boys and the girls. And that the social work intervention is inevitable. We cannot do without it in the contemporary educational system. And that the GBV, though a social phenomenon, it's prevalent. So nobody should think it's an abstract thing. It exists. In conclusion, gender-based violence is a common problem experienced in public schools, public and private schools, in the public schools, in the primary and secondary schools, both in the rural and in the urban settlements, and that the physical and psychosocial violence associated with it is increasing on a daily basis. Requisite knowledge about good or quality parenting skills that includes gender-based knowledge. So it is not a religious thing. The children must know it. So the children, violent risk behaviors must be curbed. Therefore, engage them to enable them appreciate the consequences of evil actions. To parents who perpetrate or experience intimate partner violence should be referred to counseling. So in the instance where you now have parents, based on their own antecedents too, because of their previous exposures, they are not paying attention. So in such instances, we are recommending that anyone who have experienced this GBV in the time past should be encouraged to embrace counseling and psychosocial support. Parents should monitor their words, behavior at schools and at home, and that the social work school-based intervention programs needs to be enforced in all public schools. And this is what the study is recommending. All schools should have a social worker. It will be inimical, it will be unhealthy not to have a social worker in the school. His work, his roles transcends, exceeds what a counselor will do, goes beyond what a medic will do. The reference is the Upper Style, 7th edition. I want to appreciate my supervisor, Professor Oluwayemisi Obashiro, for a model. I want to appreciate my first reviewer, Professor John Emaimo, to appreciate the Protem Secretary, Dr. Kemi Otun, Dr. Atere, the Program Coordinator, and my very great supportive leader, Mr. Francis Onipede. To everyone who have listened, thank you for listening. Again, my name is Adeyanju Temitope Peter. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Adeyanju Temitope Peter, for that post-field presentation. Let's go straight to the reviewer, Dr. Iyeme FM. Doc,
thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. And thank you, Temitope, for a great presentation. I have listened to you talk, even when we were doing the one of the classes on grant writing and things, and I see your approach to talking is still quite very firm as needed. One point I'd like to note is that it is very important when you know you have this kind of presentation to not be in a place that will likely affect your presentation, because the first time we saw your video and saw cars moving, I thought you were driving, but then I looked again and I saw you were stationary, and that's also dangerous. You know, it is better to drive and park somewhere away from the road and have it, or better still, you know the time of the meeting, then you don't move away from any building or things you are until you finish, and then you go in. So that will make someone feel safe that where you are, you're safe and you're able to present. But thank you. I had reviewed your thing. I wish I saw a PowerPoint presentation on it, and so that would have helped. But I've reviewed your document, and I must say generally that you have a mastery of the subject matter that you are investigating, and your reports of field reports shows clearly that you did a great job of it. One of the places I like to point out first is what I've told you before about the use of language and certain words, because sometimes they take away from what you are saying or what you have written. Because people will try to say, how applicable is this word to this subject matter that the person is writing about? You know, I give you an example. The first one, it's where you say, I think it's in your abstract. Let me pull it up. Yeah, I'm good. Well, yeah, this thing in your abstract says the phenomenon of gender-based violence. Is it really a phenomenon? You know, because some things like that can take somebody will be wondering, how is gender-based violence a phenomenon? Is it something that people have never understood and it's happening, but people can't understand it? But people know it. So you're just trying to expose some of the facts of this that people know. So sometimes it's better to use a word that will not take away from what you've written. And still on the abstract, I will try to I certainly will commend you for doing such a great job on the abstract, because it's comprehensive in scope. You know, it covers a broad range of aspects, including the causes, because writing your abstract sometimes is difficult to bring out everything in an abstract. And you hope that you capture it enough to capture people's attention. And your abstract did quite a bit of that. It captured attention, because when you read it, it makes you feel that, oh, you need to read the document because you're already seeing the key points in it that you will have to follow through and so on. So it was clear, as you mentioned it in the abstract, in terms of the design. So those are the strengths of the abstract, the focus on practical solutions that you've presented, you know, awareness of multiple interventions that you have listed as well, you know. But the other side of it, that you need areas of improvement, you know, would be on the language. The language is overly dense. There's a lot of weight on the language, you know. So you use technical jargons, like I noted before, and then you have lengthy sentences, you know, which will make it less accessible to a broader audience. You know, this is something that is contributing to learning, and I'll get to that part later. And so it is better for a broader audience, no matter how highly educated or lowly educated they are, they'll be able to get something out of it and not be put off. Although your design is outlined, details about sampling, justification of sample size, data analysis, and methods are really not, they're a bit missing, so this could weaken perceived rigor of the study. You did a rigorous study, and so on. So let's remove that ambiguity in the methodology. We know this because it's able, we already are part of it. Working in the system and social workers, field activities and so on. So we understand this. So it might be a bit there to make your methodology clearer, and then there's a lot of repetitiveness, certain phrases, concepts such as social work interventions and gender-based violence, repeated without adding significant new information, making the abstracts less concise. If you're using these words, then each time you use it, you should be providing new information for each time. If not, then just go ahead and continue with it, but don't be repeating the words and so on. When you started your abstract, you said it's a phenomenon. So somebody expects some novelty, new things, and so on. New things. And so it clearly, the abstract didn't articulate these new things. But in your document, you see the new things. So it would be better to kind of look at the abstract and extract, and look at the document, extract those new things and put in the abstract to make it clearly. So for just the abstract, my suggestion for improvement would be to streamline the language, to improve readability and accessibility, but maintain the academic rigor that you are putting there. Incorporate specific findings and statistics to substantiate claims, because people want to see it. Then include a bit of details on your data analysis, which was missing from the abstract, I think. And then there's a redundancy issue, by consolidate the repeated words, repeated ideas or phrases. And like I noted earlier, social work interventions, gender-based violence, and things, you consolidate them so that it would ensure that each sentence adds value and things. And then emphasize unique contribution of the study in the field of gender-based violence in just maybe a few words in your abstract. You have you have a lot of it on the main body of your write-up, of your report, so that is really great, and I commend you for that. So for me, I would just generally look at areas that I think you need improvement, but your document is very sound, but there are some areas that require improvement. The grammar, language and grammar. There are several places where you didn't complete sentence, so you need to use your spell check in your what's it called, in your computer, to be able to get it clearly written. And certainly, yes, the language in the computer, like I noted earlier, if you were listening, set it to English UK so that you get the better things and so on. So for me, that is one aspect I'd like to know. There's another area that I looked at. You said different forms, including beating. Different forms different forms include beating. It should be different forms, including beating. So those are the kinds of things I'm saying, so that it would make it more relevant and so on. With regards to structure, your research, has sound structure, I would say. It has a sound structure, and it is important to kind of build up on that when you review and clean it up for your supervisor to finalize. So make it less less dense in language. Key sections such as methodology and finding could be summarized more effectively. That's for the abstract and so on. But the objective, when I look at this objective, you have a good point. You have things that you have put in there, but I try to compare the objectives with your results and then also your how do I put this now? And your findings, how it interconnects. So it may be nice if your objectives are interconnected. And the second part is the methodology. Though it was well laid out and the design was descriptive research design, the sample size selected out of that was reasonable, but they use a structure. I mean, your Likert scale questionnaire, including the formative and things are good. The analysis and tests are very good, and so they clarify things. And for somebody who is not very good in epidemiology and analysis and things, they could easily follow your argument and why you looked at this and so on. Your research findings as it relates to your objective, yes, gender-based violence in school includes beating, harassment, emotional abuse, early forced marriage, and FGM. That's a fact. It's clearly stated and things, and it's something that many people have stated also. Many people have stated also. So are you confirming that, yes, that is what people have stated, or are you finding this out as a new finding that was not known before? So it's better to kind of count it as that this confirms what people have seen before and so on. Or this has added more to what people have seen before, and so it has clarified in some areas and so on. Your psychological violence was most prevalent, especially among female. How? Yes, it's very important because you mentioned in your discussion, or when you presented your findings, you mentioned fact that family systems, and so on, impact, especially family impact boy and the girl, which is true. For example, somebody, your phone is interfering. So when boy and girl come back from school, the girl is more important at that point because the girl is made to join to cook with the mother and things. But what does the boy do? The boy goes on to study and things. And so, yes, that can be linked into performance in school because the boy is able to read, to perform better in school because they do their homework and read at home and so on. However, the girl will be busy cooking, and by the time they finish serving, cooking and washing up, she's too tired, and so on. And so there is a need for families to consider this aspect in as they work with their girl children and so on. So I don't want to take too much time because you did a very good job and so on. But I would just like to mention some aspects of how your report and your research contributes to learning. If you remember in class, I always ask the question, whatever you're doing, how does it contribute to learning? And so in reviewing this, I see several things. I picked up 4 things that your study, your research has in contribution to learning. Context-specific and empirical insight. Your study offers fresh data on gender-based violence in Nigerian secondary schools. With Abuja and Abuja's sociopolitical landscape. But one thing I wanted to maybe hear from you when you speak was, or when you were speaking was, how does the difference in the northern, because Abuja is the north, and most of the case there may not be the rural cities, but there may be a bit cosmopolitan than other areas. How does that, the women in Abuja may not have, for example, the Bashiga approach and things and so on. But there's some schools in Abuja that have very tight ways in which they expect women to behave in schools and so on, and that affects the way they even teach in schools. I know you mentioned teachers also affecting it. Just as a side, I had to withdraw my kid from one of the public schools because I thought I would get them in public schools to be more about Nigeria. But when I saw the curriculum and things and so on, I was like, what? This is what they're teaching in schools, and that does not help the women because it kind of categorizes women as people who are only there to cook and satisfy men. I just pulled them out. So, and I just switched off. So I was interested in your research, and thank to the school for assigning it to me to review because it kind of rekindled my major interest in that. So yes, the context-specific empirical formula, the integration of theory and practice. You know, by applying feminist theory and gender role theories and the power of control your dissertation explains gender based violence. It maps the root, then it links the abstract, and then it links the abstract framework with social models that are actually applicable to schools. So that bridge between theory and actionable intervention is a solid scholarly win for you. And another part is educational performance link. Like I stated before, you know, unlike many other GBV studies that focus exclusively on health or legal ramifications, your work explicitly traces how GBV derails academic performance. And that's a major contribution to learning and would help policymakers to begin to understand possibly the disparities or discrepancies between the male education and female education in the secondary schools and so on. You know, how is it? And maybe something that could be done would be after you've done this, you know, maybe somebody else future would take up this same research and compare it to other states to see how it impacts the thing. And that would be a good thing to look at. Maybe the school can discuss with somebody on that one. And then the final one I looked at was policy orientation and recommendation. You see, your results, you know, your dissertation outlines the student-centered school-based intervention counseling. Like you noted, the need for counselors to be in schools and so on, which is something that is it's a novel in Nigeria. And that is something that should have appeared in your abstract. Wait, remember when I mentioned, you said it's a phenomenon, then what is novel about it? So this is something that is novel, that policymakers can use to modify their structure of their schools, ensuring social workers are embedded in every school. It happens in the West. In the US here, you have school social workers. They're there because the kids need counseling and so on. So for educational system, yes, that helps a lot. Now, what about contemporary times? What's the relevance of your study to contemporary time? Escalating gender-based violence during crisis. So what you have done is to raise the knowledge and things of gender-based violence to people who are those who read it and things. And if you publish this, then even people who are working in IDPs and so on will look at it and pick up something from there. So it helps, you know, it helps to address those things. An intersection with global development goals. You made several points. You raised comparisons and you highlighted a lot of things in line with the US-based system and the Nigerian-based system. You know, so that is really good. Your mental health spotlight. You spotlighted issues of mental health. You know, the rising focus on mental health in schools, both globally and in Nigeria, makes your dissertation timely. You know, it's very timely. You know, so that then the shift towards evidence-based social work. You know, I can't emphasize this much, or I can't applaud you more, you know, because the field of social work evolves. There's a push towards evidence-based practice, meaning you don't just emphasize intervention intuitively. You bring data, and you have brought data that shows that there is a need to shift towards social work interventions in schools and all those places and so on. So I applaud you for that. And my conclusion, I say it's just a scholarly document. It's a conversation. It's not just a scholarly document. It's a conversation, a curriculum shaper for social work in Nigeria, and a call to action. So thank you for doing this, and thanks to your supervisor for the guidance, and thank you to the school for the opportunity to review this. Thank you very much. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you exceedingly, sir, Professor Iyeme.
Iyeme FM. Let's go straight. We any of our resource person that want to make some comments within 2-3 minutes or some review? Dr. Loreto Nyekwere, yes?
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Iyeme. You actually said my mind. So many things I noticed while he was presenting, especially the aspect of the lecture you had to give us on how to format our system to carry that of British English. For the presenter, you talked so much about feminist theory and trying to mention so many theories in that line. I know that there are always contending theories to topics we choose to write. In the face of contending theories, it's expected that you pick a particular one, probably one or two. I don't have your work, but I'm just talking based on what you explained. You talked at so many theories. We are trying to explain them one after the other, and even said that this one is the one that is okay, that will be suitable for this and that. My question is, which of these theories did you actually pick to explain your work? Because you cannot have all of them in your work. There are contending theories, but then you will choose a particular one and explain. And you probably say, however, there are contending theories to this that could be suitable for this work, but then this was chosen because of this. Something that makes it more suitable for the work than other ones. So I don't know whether you have up to 10 or 5 or 10 theories in your work. I don't know. But if you have, I will advise that you look at the one that is actually suitable for your work and use either one or two and relate it to your work, and not bring in all these theories that you just explained while presenting. So I don't know whether you're talking based on presentation or that is what you have in your work. I don't know. But if that is what you have in your work, take one or two and relate it very well to your applicable to your work. Don't bring in all the theories. Because definitely if you go to maybe sociology and any other one, political science, you will pick theories that will suit this your work. But then there is the one that will be more suitable. Take that one. Don't bring in all the contending theories you are trying to explain to us. Thank you. But you tried, you talked so well about your work and you showed mastering.
Thank you, Dr. Loreto Nyekwere. We have Professor John Emma. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, the presenter, the coordinator, the reviewer, as well as the last speaker. For the purpose of other colleagues, we know there are also intending candidates on the platform. We need to let you know that what we are doing is a serious business, like I said in the first instance. Though this has been mentioned for purpose of emphasis, I wouldn't see why a candidate is presenting inside a car and then videoing it. I think it took me off balance. We are doing a very serious business here. I didn't know what could lead to that, because most of us have shared what we are doing. We are staying somewhere to sit down and concentrate and do the work. That should be well noted. The behavior is not really a very good one as a researcher. And then I want to go into the work. What we are listening to from Adeyanju is supposed to be a field report, but not a seminar presentation or a conference paperwork. I noted also that Dr. Yeme, he tried to come into that too somehow to bring them to table in a very American way. But I would like to be a very good Nigerian, if you permit me. I painstakingly listened to the work. I failed to see the field in the work. The presenter didn't take us to the field, or myself, he didn't take me to the field, and did not also take me back from the field. I expect that both all the recommendation, observation should be backed by what came out from the field. And when listening to the presenter, I did not also hear what was done in the field. Where was it done? What was done? What exactly took place in the field? What gave rise to these comments? What gave rise to this recommendation? What gave rise to these issues, and tie them back to the objective? Have we met the objective so set? My emphasis in this business is that field report is done in such a way that those who didn't go to field with you, like us, will feel the field and also see the field and also imagine what happened in the field. So I'm thinking that it's still the style of maybe a proposal, or maybe showing the knowledge of the topic in order to enable you go to the field to do the job. So I want to say, because the work will be submitted to an expert panel who will review the work to know whether it can be sent for external assessment. For the work to be sent to external assessment, there must be evidence of a field work in your work. I don't have the work, but I'm not supposed to have the work to know whether the work has gone to field and is back from the field. So please, in putting up what could be sent as submission, let the work be read. And that work, after being read, should take the reader to the field and get the reader also to see what was done in the field, and get the reader to see where all your recommendations and orders are extracted from, directly from the field, but not from textbook or from assumptions or from knowledge and so on. This is just my own contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor John Amayamo, for that observation. Do we have any other reaction? There is no hand up. Oh, but is it okay? Yes. Okay. Dr. Okay, Peter Adeyanju Temitokwe, have any reaction?
Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate every comment made. And honestly, I'm going to sit down with my supervisor again, and then we'll look at that and then appropriate every necessary corrections. Thank you very much. I sincerely say thank you to all.
Okay. Thank you, Temitokwe Peter. Dr. Tere?
Okay, thank you very much, Social Worker Ferdinand Omoja, for that coordination. We appreciate. We want to call on Professor John Amayamo to take the verdicts on both presenter. You have the floor, Prof.
Thank you so much. The first presenter has done well, should go to the field. Second presenter has also done well, should effect corrections, like I said, because the verdict here is not sending the work out for external examination. It will go for a panel, and the panel will okay the work, and then it will go. But like I said clearly, the work that is coming as submission should contain evidence of field work, and every aspect of recommendation and submission from that work should be tied to what actually emanated from the field. If that is put in place, the work will go. So we have okayed the work at this point for submission for this review. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor John Emaimo, for the verdict taken. I hope the candidates have listened to the discussion on the papers submitted, which have been reviewed by our discussants. And I'm very sure that our rapporteur will also make copies available to you. Let me, at this point, also thank Professor Kayode Onipide from the review from the discussion of Magnus. He mentioned about some work that relates to his work in the East, and he had been able to send to us a copy of that work for him to look at. We appreciate your support, sir. Thank you very, very much. And let me, at this point, say that
I think Professor Onipide is raising up hand.
Oh, okay.
Maybe there's information we can
Prof,
allow
please.
him. Thank
okay,
you.
please, Prof. You have the floor.
Just a post approval comment. I want to just, and it's a prayer that in exercises like this, which need to be maybe the center or the issue can be just magnanimous by sending us e-copies before presentation, so that we have, we know what to say, where to act or react, where to comment or otherwise. If you have e-copies, that will be better for all of us. At least you can read and know, because like even the last presenter, so many things are still, but we thank God for the reviewer, Dr. Noja. Did a very good one. And Professor Mamo wrap it out with something very, very...
You mean Dr. Onyekure,
yes.
not Onoja, please.
Okay, Dr. Onyekure. Then, and I thank the Professor Mamo for giving us, that last this thing was very okay for me. But I think I'm praying, Dr. Atere, please, maybe you should be giving us e-copies of these materials before presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that observation. We'll look at that and effect, please. Thank you. Okay, verdict having been taken, we want to say thank you to Professor John Emaimo, Dr. Kemi Otun. Thank you for being here. Dr. Onyekure, we appreciate you for being here. Mr. Onipide, we thank you enormously. We thank Dr. Iyeme FM. Thank you, social worker Oni. You are recognized. We thank you so much for being here with us all through from beginning. And we thank all. Okay, Dr. Adekalu is also there. He was part of the review of yesterday. Thank you so much for taking time out to be here again as well. I want to thank you, graduate students of the College of C-ISOWN College of Social Work, for taking out time to be here again today. You could see the progress, you could see how dissertation goes from one level to another. Even though you are doing project research, but it takes almost the same format. So I want to believe that you are learning and you have already gotten some of the things you will need during your own project as well, research writing as well, and your seminar presentation. So brilliant students and students who are studious will be taking note at this point so that you will not make mistakes like you saw yesterday. And also, let me thank social work professional certificate examination students. They are also here. Thank you for being here to also learn. We have some master class, LWPC master class candidates are also here. We appreciate you for taking out time to be here. We can only promise you quality. We can only promise that it will get better and better. And we can also promise that each one who have been able to finish his professional examination, who has a master's, can also enroll for the Doctor of Social Work program in C-ISOWN College of Social Work. We'll be expecting you any moment that you fill your form, and by the time you finish, you'll have become both an academic and a more brewed professional. Thank you very much, each one that have been here. As mentioned, we want to call it a close now. I will hand over back to the coordinator and the rapporteur to say his last words and then close the meeting. Thank you very much for being here.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Atere. And definitely in the next 48 hours, the comments for the different presenters will be sent to Dr. Atere, and then they'll use that to compare with their notes, with the recorded version of this presentation. It's been a pleasure to be on this side to moderate this Doctor of Social Work seminar presentation. We look forward for more engagement that the Institute and the College of Postgraduate School of the Institute will be having from time to time, for all of us to be able to have a cross-fertilization of knowledge, which definitely will help us to develop our quest for better services to the client and to humanity. Having said that, day is well spent, so that we start our week on a very productive note as we, by God's grace, we enter tomorrow, which is the first working day for those of us in Nigeria. Thank you very much, everyone. All my senior colleagues, my colleagues, and everyone who have made this presentation worthwhile and very engaging. Good night, and God bless every one of us.
Good night, sir.
Good night, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night,
Good
sir.
night.
Good night, and thank you very
Bye,
much.
bye. Bye, everyone.
It's good to be here. Yeah, bye-bye.
My sister, do you know the funny
Thank you,
news?
sir.
Yes, sir. Good night, sir.
Bye.